Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Dr. DeShavo. I am making a short video to review some study skills and also some test taking strategies. There's good news and bad news. The good news is that I'm going to try to help you out a little bit here. The bad news is, guys, there's just no tricks. If I knew the tricks, I could set it up in a study skill session and probably make $1 million, because this stuff is hard and it takes time and commitment to learn it at a level that you'll need to know it. But what happens then is you start to train your brain on knowing these things at a higher level, and it'll make memorizing in the future for other classes easier. So I've pulled up PowerPoints. You know, this can apply to lab notes, your personal notes, whatever. But I pulled up some PowerPoints from my anatomy and physiology course, and I'd like to sort of go over how to study. First of all, in this class, you always want to come back to the notes. I know people like to make note cards, and that's fine. But what I find with note cards is a lot of times people will focus on things that they like rather than what they should study. So and it's subconscious, of course. You wouldn't want to do this if you were intentionally doing it. When you look at the slide and you're making a note card, you might just pick out some of these major things and not get the details. You've really got to dig deep into this material. And if you're going to make a note card, you should be putting everything on. I find it easier to just sit and look at the slide and try to memorize it as best as I can. So the first thing that you want to do is to get whatever notes you need that you've gotten from your professor. Go to the class, get the information from them that you need, and then go through the notes once. So this PowerPoint, let me bring this down a little bit, has 41 slides. So start at the beginning, go through the lecture, make your way through. You get down to something that doesn't make sense to you. I'm just going to throw things out there. Like girdle. You don't know what girdle means? Look it up. Take the time to actually write the definition here. You don't know distal appendages. You find it on your book. It's page 110 of your book. Make note of that. Really dig in. Take the time to look things up that you don't understand. If you look in your book, if you watch the lecture videos and you still don't understand it, reach out to your professor. So you're going to work your way down through once, making sure you understand everything on every page, and you look things up that you don't understand, jot them down and jot them down where you found them. Okay, so you all the way through. You understand everything, you've emailed your professor, you've gotten answers, etc., or talk to them in class. Okay, what I used to do, I have 40 pages, I have a week to study. I'm going to do 10-ish pages a day. And I would sit and look at every slide until I could cover the slide and recite the majority of what was on there. Okay, so structure, types, and locations. You know, what is calcification? Is when cartilage and fibrous membranes turn into bone. Sit and think about that for a minute. Picture it in your head. Where's cartilage in the body? It's the majority of the skeleton, the precursor of the skeleton. You know, fibrous membranes are going to be your clavicle and your skull. Now, I understand that I've taught it for way too long. I won't even tell you how many years I can recite this. But you want to start getting snippets of that material and be able to recite that from memory. Also figure out what type of learner you are. I'm very picture, visual, and auditory. So if I hear someone talking about these topics on this slide and I look at that picture and I start to dissect it down, calcification, cartilage, I would look at the skeleton. Most of this skeleton is going to begin as cartilage. Isn't that cool? And then calcium salts will be deposited into this cartilage, except for when we talk about the skull and the clavicle. That's going to be fibrous membranes, which will turn into cartilage. Spend some time, really talk to yourself about it. Okay. Oh, and then look at that. There's 3 types of cartilage. What are the 3 types of cartilage? Close your eyes. Try to recite that. Where are they located? Really, I call it chewing on the material. Spend some time, really break it down and chew on it. And that took us 5 minutes, and you probably know that material a little bit better. You can't just glimpse through it and memorize it. It takes time. If you want to take it one step further, and once again, I break it down. If I have a week, I do 10 pages a day, and then I would review a day and then give myself a couple days off or a couple days to catch up. So, excuse me. I had a cough drop in my mouth. I'm sorry if that crunched in your ear. Okay. You've gone through your 10 pages. Another thing that I would do while I was studying is I would take a sheet of paper and I would look at this slide. I would make myself a test. Number 1, what do I think she might ask me from this? Definitely calcification, that it comes from fibrous and cartilaginous membranes. Fibrous membranes, I should say, and cartilage. I would make a quiz question. 2, and if you look at it critically like that, it makes you look at it in a different light and help you study a little bit more in depth. Make myself a quiz from every one of the pages. Get through the whole lecture at the end of the week. I'd take that quiz. And I'd really try to picture the answers in my head. I would also make it harder than I thought the lecture test would be. Why not, right? If you're getting and working harder, you should be able to memorize a little bit better. I would take that quiz at the end of the week, and it would give me an idea. Oh, wait a minute. I really didn't remember these types of cartilages. I really need to go back and look at that. Now, the other thing, once again, and I started to talk about this, I didn't finish it, is what type of learner are you? Are you visual? Are you auditory? Do you do best reading? There is the lecture book. And you've probably figured out by now the lecture book goes very, very, very in depth. We could take any one of these organ systems and teach it for a full semester at least, if not 2. There's so much more. As a matter of fact, the more I learn, the more I realize there's so much more to learn. There's just a ton of information out there. So figure out what type you are. I'm very visual combined with auditory. So if I have a good visual, say, for example, I don't know if I can make this larger here or not. Let me try. Okay, well, I can do it like this. Okay. If I sit and look at this picture and start to go over the different types of cartilage and whatnot, you can see they're designated by color. Okay. And spend some time looking at the hyaline cartilage or where the fibrocartilage is. It's hard to see on this one. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong color. I'm sorry. Fibrocartilage is the red, so that would be discs. Elastic cartilage, ear and epiglottis, right? That visual really helps me. And then on exams, sometimes I'd be like, oh, geez, what's a costal cartilage made up of? And this visual would really help me. The other thing I would do is listen to the lectures, because I would tape all my lectures, and the listening to it would help to trigger visual concepts for me. And if I put those together, it really helps me to learn. So, that's not really tricky to figure out. You pretty much know, if I study a picture, I learn it quite a bit better. If I listen over and over, that really helps me to understand something. So use that if that's your strength. If reading helps you, give me just a second here, I'm trying to decrease. Okay. If reading helps you, then read the book. Okay. So try to figure out what type of learner you are. The last thing is, it is just continually repeating things. Reading it, rereading it, looking at pictures. Remember that for my class, and this is not true of all classes, but for my classes, I do take the questions from the notes that I give you. I've had students argue this with me, and I will go right back and show you in the notes that I take the questions from the notes. Okay. That's true for my A&P. I'll be honest with you, pathophysiology, because I'm going to send this tape out to both. Pathophysiology could be from the book as well as the lectures. So path, because it's a higher level course, you're going to have questions that go across, but a lot of them are rooted in these notes. You want to make sure you know your notes. And once again, pathophysiology, unfortunately, you guys have a harder class. You got to know both. Okay. Okay. The final, if you have time to re-listen to the lectures and you've studied, see if you can picture it in your head. You know it if you could picture these concepts in your head. Okay. And I should say, I do ask some other questions outside of the A&P lecture notes. There are some from the lecture book as well. Not quite as many as I do with Path. Okay. I have brought up some questions. These are not my questions. I got these from online because I do want to talk about some test taking strategies. Personally, myself, me and I used to have horrible test anxiety. Now, that being said, for my doctoral program, we had a trimester system. At the end of every trimester, I had 14, yes, my friends, 14 exams. We would have 7, give or take, in our lectures, and then 7 lab exams. So all the lab exams that you had to do for A&P, I'd have 7 of those during a week. So no wonder I was anxious. I should have been anxious. There was a lot of material, you know. I realized about halfway through it, you know, I've got to find a way to calm down. So what I started doing is I would get into the test. First of all, I would come late to the test. I would leave early. I would never listen to anybody because people love to commiserate. What about this? Do you know what this is? What about that question? What about this question? That would just make me want to vomit. So I would show up not late to the exam. I mean, right before the exam would start, I would be right around the corner. I'd come in at the last minute. Of course, many of you take these at home. And then I would leave right after and immediately go home and not listen to anybody. I would get in. I would get settled. I'd take, you know, a minute. Lab exams were harder, but lecture exams, you could definitely do this. Set your computer exactly where you want it. Take 5 deep breaths and relax. Drop your energy down. I know it sounds like guru stuff, but I would come in like this, and my breathing would be so anxious that it stimulates your sympathetic nervous system. It does. It's proven. Look it up. If you take deep breaths that stimulates parasympathetic, it calms you down. And then I would start the exam when I felt ready. I would look at every word of every question. For example, people miss this. Except, okay? So the accessory digestive organs, what is that referencing? Accessory means supplemental, that help to provide accessory physiology. Digestive means the digestive organs, liver, gallbladder, etc. And we're talking about all those that are included except, okay, so which one is not considered accessory? I'm not going to go over the answers because, you know, I'm just going to give you strategies. So you go through, you know, this one I could tell you definitely, this one I could tell you definitely. So we're down to tongue and stomach. You've got to choose which is the best one out of those 2. And really start to think and digest that question. Okay? So tongue, stomach. I will go through the answer, actually. Okay? I didn't want to go through answers because I don't want to give answers to test questions. But what helps to accessorize the digestive organs that don't have a primary job? Oh, stomach is absolutely one of the primary digestive organs. Tongue is going to be accessory. This would be the best answer. So you need to look at every word of every question and then choose the best answer. Now, of course, you're going to be able to go through and quickly answer some of them after you read every word. And then if you have some that you're unsure of, spend time on that after you've gone through the other ones. If you have the chance to go through all of them, because not all of the tests allow you to get through the whole test. Go through the whole test, and the ones you're not sure of, there may have been something in a different question that may have helped you with that. Okay, just some tips. If you have matching, sometimes they'll let you, if you're unsure and you've got A, you know for sure, and C, you know for sure, but B and D you're not sure of with a matching, and you're allowed to put B and B, right? That'll at least get you 2 points. Of course, I want you to put the right answers, but if you're not sure, good test-taking strategies, okay? Always go back through, if it's an online exam, and make sure that your answers are put in as you want them. Sometimes the mouse will slide your answers, so you want to make sure that, or your touchpad, you want to make sure that the right answers are put in there, okay? Now, if you're looking at this one, you just don't know. Okay, I think everybody knows this before they even take an A&P class. Okay, gosh, try to picture it. That was a huge tip for me. I could picture the answers in my head. I knew from the picture, okay, so the esophagus has muscle, and I know that it starts with skeletal at the top and it turns to smooth at the bottom. I know that muscle pushes it down, and that, oh yeah, that process, peristalsis, right? Sometimes if you're able to visualize things, that is extremely helpful. But I think most important, take your time. Take a deep breath. Read the questions as if you think I'm trying to trick you. Sometimes I am. I'm sorry to say it. It gets tricky. And read every word and think to yourself, I'm not going to let her take those points away, and make it more of a competition rather than, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail this test. This is going to be horrible. That was a huge turning point for me, because what it did was it made me slow down and read every word, and then read every word of every answer too. And sometimes when you do that, you could see, oh wait, no, this answer doesn't go with this topic. It goes with another topic. Really dissect it down. So these are some very basic tips, which I hope help you with study skills and test taking. I'm more than happy to go over these with you in person if you'd like to set up an appointment. Thank you for your time, and have a phenomenal day.